What's up guys, it's Ian here, back today with another video, and today I'm here to bring you a standalone video on how to perform the dead bug exercise. This exercise is called the dead bug because in the start position where you're on your back with the knees over the hips and the hands over the shoulders, you kind of look like a dead bug. This exercise is typically performed as an abdominal exercise, although it does recruit the hip flexors to some degree as the leg reaches out into that outstretched position. As I perform this exercise, I really like to take a few seconds in the start position, in that dead bug position, just to solidify my setup. It's not always realistic to be able to touch the low back to the floor. In fact, I actually can't touch my lower back to the floor unless I lift my chest, shoulders, or head off the ground. I find that it isn't a critical component of the exercise to be able to keep the lower back flat into the ground, but more what you want to think about doing is flex your abs and just try to prevent the spine from changing position too drastically. It's impossible to 100% eliminate spinal movement as you're performing this exercise or most other exercises and movements in general, but what you want to do is limit movement. The other thing that I like to focus on is lowering the leg with control. Lowering that leg with control is really going to help you get the most out of this exercise. You want to control that leg as you lower it and then bring it back in with control as well. What you want to think about here is using the leg as leverage to target the abs in this exercise. So you want to flex those abs when you're in that initial dead bug position, slowly lower the leg with control as you maintain the position. So you can see here that I'm alternating arm and leg. So I'm going right leg, left arm, holding that out position for a second, then I'm bringing it back in, coming all the way back in, maintaining as much of the spinal position as I can, and then left leg, right arm, holding that out position for a second, a split second at least, and then coming back in. So you can see here, the goal isn't really to touch the lower back to the floor, but it's to flex the abs really hard when you're in that dead bug position, maintain the contraction the whole time, and as you bring that leg out and the arm out, and then bring them back in, you're really just focusing on keeping the abs tight, trying to limit movement of the spine here. For a long time, I was confused about this exercise as well. I've seen people move their leg too quickly. I've seen people lift their head and back in an effort to touch the lower back to the floor. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do it. If you really did want to keep the lower back on the floor for some reason, you might have to lift the shoulders and the head. I don't think it's particularly natural to have your lumbar spine touching the floor while keeping the head on the floor. That would mean you've essentially lost your natural lumbar curvature. Essentially, the point here is just to try to dispel some myths about this exercise. If you really wanted to touch your lower back to the floor for some reason, you probably would have to lift your shoulders and head off the floor if you did have normal curvature in the spine. For me here, I'm fine having a small gap in the lower back. I'm just trying to get my abs really tight in that initial dead bug position before I reach out with the leg and the arm, and then use control as I lower the leg slowly, and that's going to really help me feel this exercise the most in the abs. Even consider pausing with the leg and arm at their most outstretched point before you return to that starting position and begin the next repetition. Hopefully you found this standalone video useful, breaking down the dead bug exercise. If you'd like me to break down any other exercises, just drop a comment below and I'll be happy to break down another exercise as soon as I get that request. As always, thank you for watching, and don't let anybody stop your gains.